Welcome to PCB Chat, where we talk with experts across the printed circuit design, manufacturing, and electronic supply chain fields. I'm Mike Buetow, president of the Printed Circuit Engineering Association. Supply chain management looms over everything we do, but it has been more pronounced than ever over the past 5 years as the COVID pandemic steered so much attention to how we procure and inventory parts. Many listeners will know and probably do business with DigiKey, which is one of the largest distributors of electronics components in the world. Many are also familiar, at least, with Librarian, the developer of CAD library tools for creating symbols, footprints, 3D models, and ultimately integration. About a month ago, the companies announced a collaboration that gives engineers what they are calling a fully integrated and contextual component discovery and procurement path directly inside the CAD environment. What does that mean? DigiKey's myLists tool is being integrated with Librarian's bill of materials management software. The benefit, they say, is that designers and engineers will have access to DigiKey's parts within the OrCAD Capture environment and can then seamlessly send a bill of materials to DigiKey. Today's guests on PCB Chat are Gopu Achath, who is Vice President of Technology at EMA Design Automation. Joining Gopu is Cody Walseth, the Digital Product Owner at DigiKey. Cody, I have to ask, what is a digital product owner? I'm not familiar with that position.
Good question. The title comes from Scrum or Agile title work for doing Agile development. So my role is focused on strategy and keeping the developers busy when it comes to digital tools.
Got it. Well, welcome to both of you to PCB Chat. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about the collaboration between the two companies.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for having us.
I know myLists is DigiKey's parts list management tool. Cody, can you briefly explain what exactly it does?
Yeah, of course. So a little bit of history on myLists is it was rebuilt a few years ago, consolidating some features from some legacy tools, one of which being our pricing and availability tool, along with favorites. And it's basically a landing place for customers, users to manage their list of parts. And from there, it has all kinds of other features that are really there to help customers consolidate.
And Cody, does somebody have to be a DigiKey customer, like a component buyer, in order to use that tool?
So there is a guest functionality within myLists, but the primary features are for users who log in with DigiKey.
Gopu, I mentioned some of the features of UltraBOM in my lead-in. Can you elaborate on that for folks who aren't users of the tool?
Yeah, absolutely. So UltraBOM, it's an application that opens natively inside OrCAD Capture, allowing OrCAD users to easily access pricing, device parametric data from DigiKey, as well as CAD models from Librarian without leaving OrCAD, right? And then, like Cody said, you can easily submit your bill of materials to DigiKey MyList for seamless review and purchasing. So we see OrCAD users typically have the DigiKey site open, next to their OrCAD design interface to research component and download CAD model. UltraBOM basically brings these two natively inside OrCAD, as well as makes it so much more easier to release a BOM right to DigiKey's MyList capability.
Who uses UltraBOM? Just the designers and design engineers?
Yeah, it's primarily used by OrCAD users, design engineers. So some history on UltraBOM, right? So it is not a brand new application, right? So I would say about I would maybe 2012 is when we had the first release of UltraBOM. It was called PartLink at that time, and we've had, I would say, in the first 2 years, we had about 15,000 or so customers who downloaded that app. So it was the most popular OrCAD app around. And then in 2020, we updated this PartLink app with much tighter integration to DigiKey with all the Ultra Librarian content. And then it became DigiKey's UltraBOM for OrCAD. And obviously, for those who are not familiar with Ultra Librarian, right, it is the largest content source for CAD libraries with symbols, footprints, 3D models, and now reference design, simulation models, and so on.
Right. And that was part of the Accelerated Designs acquisition? Yeah.
Yep, correct.
Gain access to leading industry experts and the best technical information at PCB East, coming April 29 to May 2nd to the Boston suburbs. PCB East offers over 75 hours of free and paid technical sessions, ranging from printed circuit design to fabrication and assembly, brought to you by the Printed Circuit Engineering Association. The free sessions and an exhibition featuring more than 60 leading companies take place April 30 at the Boxborough Regency Hotel and Conference Center in Boxborough, Massachusetts, and cover topics about AI and PCB design, flex design, simulation, Ultra HDI, and more. For more information about PCB East, visit pcbeast.com.
Okay, so now that we have the background on the tools themselves squared away, let's talk about the integration. Is this an update that EMA simply pushes through to existing users?
Yeah, so PartLink users or UltraBOM users can easily update. So the key feature is previously we were using the DigiKey API for the integration, which gave some capability to see all the DigiKey information and basically push to the cart. With the new UltraBOM, the key feature obviously is the tight integration to myLists, right? So now you can not only natively access pricing, availability, and so on, you can just push that bomb into MyList. So, I've seen one of the key capabilities is if you're a registered MyList user with DigiKey, you can easily, get a quote. You could even lock in your price for 30 days, save these lists for future use, as well as if you want to collaborate with like a service bureau or a contract manufacturer or any internal, purchasing, you can easily take your list of parts and share it for collaboration with both internal and external users.
And so, just in thinking in terms of what this looks like in the user environment, I think in some of the press releases you mentioned that it's just a button push. Is it really just one command on the desktop or on the user interface that makes it that simple?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, you push a button, it'll open my list, and we've done all the integration and the mapping, and you'll see your entire list of parts on DigiKey's bill of material updated.
And Cody, from the DigiKey vantage point, what does that look like as the information is coming into you?
Once a user comes into DigiKey, as Gopu had mentioned, there's a lot of features there that it adds, like being able to share, and you can share with only your colleagues in the same organization or share those publicly. But there's a lot more to that as far as attrition calculation or alternates, substitutes, mapping the pricing and availability, reviewing what the part status might be, HTS code, ECCN, country of origin. That's to name a few of the features that exist once you get into the tool. And then, if your workflow process as the design engineer requires an export, then you can take that out as a CSV. There's column organization that you can manage in there, get that to your purchaser, and they can see your alternates. They can make the next steps in that process right from the tool. One click add to cart, or as Gopu had mentioned, the quoting feature, is all built in. So it's very powerful when it comes to that part list management.
So you mentioned attrition calculation. What does that mean?
So if you take your bill of materials from your project, that's created for one circuit board. If you want to make 1,000 circuit boards, you may want a 10% attrition in your parts for parts that may fall off the leader and trailer, or something gets damaged in that process of hand soldering or going to whatever steps you're taking next with your project. So the attrition just allows you to add a percentage part count to all of your line items.
If I want to be able to share this with other people besides just the design engineer and their counterpart on the DigiKey side, I mean, I think that Gopu had mentioned that you can add other folks into this. So, for instance, say that I'm the designer and I wanted to loop in purchasing. Is that all on that same button push?
Yeah, depending on which flow. If you're trying to get it outside of your organization, then that would be putting in their email address and it sends it out to them to give or grant them access to that list. Where if it's within your organization, that flow is a little bit different.
Got it. And so, if you're inside your organization, and I imagine that DigiKey is similar to many other component distributors, and for that matter, sellers, where you have relationships with different customers, and so the pricing and terms and all that might be a little bit different from customer to customer. If that's the case, then what I would be seeing if I'm the user would be specific to my employer, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So, is the BOM management, is that typically going to be the domain of the design engineer, or would other folks typically be involved?
Yeah, so one thing to clarify. So within the UltraBOM interface, you can provide your DigiKey account information so that the pricing and everything that's displayed to you is what you have negotiated with DigiKey, right? So it's all, you can put that information right inside DigiKey. Now, from a BOM perspective, what we are doing is we are leveraging DigiKey's ability to be able to store multiple bill of materials. So what we do from the OrCAD side is inside UltraBOM, when you open a design and build a list of parts, call it a BOM, you can push that to your MyList solution on the DigiKey side, and you can add multiple bill of materials. Everything gets stored within DigiKey's MyList, right? So whether it's a specific project or variations within a project or a different project, all that we are leveraging DigiKey's MyList platform for. So from a OrCAD side, you're right. The design engineer is not responsible for managing the bill of materials within UltraBOM, but you're leveraging DigiKey's MyList platform to do all that.
I understand. So then, working across all the individuals that might be involved in this, coupled with the inevitable engineering change orders and hopefully not, but typically respins, that all puts communication at a premium. Does myLists help smooth that out?
As far as the communication aspect, I guess I'm not the right person to answer that. There might be flows I'm not aware of. But as far as access to the list and making notes for the parts, that is handled within the tool.
Now, what are some other common pain points in managing the BOM that myList can tackle, and where will the integration with UltraBOM play into that?
So I mentioned a couple of them, from the myList side, the collaboration, being able to share that with procurement, the alternates, and being able to add those by line item to say, I don't care if it's one of these three capacitors, if they're all verified by me as the PCB designer, the procurement can choose any of those. But from the UltraBOM aspect, it's really just getting the information to the user early. The availability and the pricing, and being able to just add those symbols and footprints that come from Librarian and have the part information mapped, and allowing that to just easily get to that next step without exports and emails that can delay communication.
Yeah, some of the integration benefits to OrCAD users. So UltraBOM was developed based on demand from both small, medium-sized companies to very large corporations, right? So for the small and medium customers who may not have like a centralized managed CIS library, UltraBOM is a perfect solution because it becomes that single source for CAD models as well as current supply chain information from DigiKey. right? But even for the larger enterprise customers who have R&D groups that go through several projects, this UltraBOM just makes it so easy for them to rapidly create a design with active components from DigiKey that are in stock, and even quickly purchase the bill of material natively from OrCAD, right? So that's where the demand came from. And then, the integration benefits, right? So if you look at the features that are the most popular, what we hear from customers is they love how easily they can toggle between a design view and a BOM view inside UltraBOM. So the way UltraBOM opens is right inside OrCAD, you have your design, and in the bottom there's a tabbed view where you can have the design view, which is pretty much list of every component on your design, and then you toggle to the BOM view, which groups components, and now you can see a much higher level view. And customers love that because even while doing the design, they can click on BOM view, see the entire BOM status compared to DigiKey. Another feature that we have seen, which is another benefit of this integration, is UltraBOM flags every obsolete component or parts that are not in stock with DigiKey and allows OrCAD users to easily find and replace with active in stock parts from DigiKey. So to me, these two seem like the biggest benefits that the integration offers.
And what we're talking about here, when we're talking about the number of parts that are covered by UltraBOM, the symbols, the footprints, the 3D models, you're talking it's in the millions.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we have I would say over 90% coverage of CAD models for parts on digikey.com.
And likewise, when somebody's looking for a part, they need a one-off or something like that. I mean, that's where DigiKey really shines. You're trying to get this this MPI out, and you got the prototype pretty much wrapped up, and oh, wait a minute, I need this crystal oscillator or some connector or something like that, or even if it's just standard parts, but you need them really fast. That's where DigiKey shines.
That's right. Yep.
Something that Gopu said is the type of user that would be subscribing to UltraBOM. We see this if you peruse Reddit and things like that. You'll occasionally run across somebody who's looking for a particular footprint or a model for a particular part. I mean, they'll just go out into the wild and look for this stuff, and it always leaves me scratching my head that with the amount of time invested in creating a design and the amount of money that you have risked for all of that you would be willing to just kind of trust a non-verifiable source for things that are that important. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. So, Gopu, what trends do you see among CAD users today, and how do they fit into your other plans for UltraBOM?
Yeah, so I would say, access to component pricing, availability, lead time, at the component selection phase is no longer a nice to have, right? I would say in the last 5 to 6 years, more and more customers have implemented or found out ways to bring both internal and external supply chain information right inside the engineer's desktop, right? I mean, in the past, you would create a design, then generate a bill of material, and then figure out pricing, availability, and so on, right? I think that, I've seen more and more customers not do that anymore. So that's one thing that I see a lot from our customer base. Another thing is around 3D visualization of the entire board, right? So 3D models are still the top downloaded resource on Ultra Librarian portal, both independently and through DigiKey as well. So we see over 3 million downloads of CAD models a year, and I would say majority are 3D models, right? Which is showing you that more and more customers are leveraging these step models from Ultra Librarian to get a full 3D representation of the board so that non-ECAD users in the company can review or preview the board and using 3D viewers, right? Obviously it drives more collaboration between ECAD and MCAD departments in the company. So I would think those two are the most common trends that I see in our audience in a larger scale.
So along those lines, Cody, can myLists push data on the supply chain, say parts availability, to the desktop prior to the designer specifically asking for it, so they might make a more informed decision For example, is there some way to kind of put some predictive element into this, knowing, hey, look, this particular designer, often uses this particular part, and kind of keeping them up to date, almost like a what do they call it? The ticker, a Wall Street ticker, right?
It sounds like a nice to have, but it's not something available
Yeah.
today. No,
Yeah. So
I'll,
sorry, go ahead.
I'll just reiterate on some of Gopu's comments there on industry trends and what we see with models, and really it comes down to time. The ability for an engineer to save time in the manual work and get their prototype and get their design verified more quickly. And we're seeing, the library building within a company is being reduced because companies like Librarian have done such a great job of providing these. And it's been great for DigiKey to allow our customers to have assets like that now. How can we help them make that decision more quickly as well on the products and on the availability, and get to that next step? And we're just heading in that direction, shortening that time, because they can get built so much faster. Your prototypes don't take very long, like they did 5-10 years ago. It's a much different space.
Yeah, so a couple of things to add to what Cody said, right? So on the Ultra Librarian side, we have you know agreements with different IC manufacturers, component manufacturers to build CAD models and make it available through DigiKey. But we follow IPC standards, right? So we have to follow standard industry standards so that it's easy for users to download, access the models. There's a common way of doing it. However, and obviously it saves days and hours, right? Because some of these connector footprints or 3D models could take hours or days to build. Even for larger companies who have their own internal library standards, they would still download from Ultra Librarian and use it as a starting point and customize it. Overall, like Cody said, it allows them to focus on doing the design rather than spending hours and days building these CAD model libraries. And one more thing to add is we are also offering reference designs on ultralibrarian.com, right? So you can get reference designs in multiple CAD formats, Cadence, Altium, Mentor, and which allows users to easily bring a reference design into their native project, which, as is a very crucial piece of the design process nowadays, is being able to take a design from an IC manufacturer and just add it to your project and use it natively.
So I was involved in the IPC 782 document when we first published that standard in the early 90s. And in the A rev of that, we introduced the concept of minimal material condition and maximum material condition, to kind of get at the tolerance of the part. And then we also were trying to involve, SMT was just starting to propagate around the industry at that time. And we were trying to put in some kind of variance or tolerance for the different machine capability. A lot of that has been ironed out over time because the equipment is just so good now. But when I'm thinking about standard library sets, is there room for a company to broadly update or edit the footprints that they're getting from Ultra Librarian to reflect their assembler's actual capability, or would they have to modify that part by part?
Yeah, good question. So we have obviously we follow min max nominal for our footprints, right? Just to make it easy for our users. We've had customers who either download it and manually update each part, or sometimes customers engage with us to do like a mass update of the template. So both are possible. Where if they want to do one at a time, they can do it, or if they want to do it in mass, we can do the template updates for them. Because Ultra Librarian is a desktop, it's an application where you can put in all the parameters and we generate footprints, 3D models, and symbols based on templates. It's template driven, which makes it, take seconds to generate a model versus spending, hours to do it. And that's how we got to 16 million components in the past few years.
Does this sort of mark the high point of the integration between some of Ultra Librarian's tools, and for that matter, EMA's tools, and what DigiKey is doing, or are there other things on the roadmap?
There's always more. We have a great partnership that's been ongoing for many years, and as Gopu mentioned, the coverage of Ultra Librarian models for DigiKey products is quite large. If you're on a part detail page on DigiKey and a model is available, click on that link. We have those models available to download to pull into your native CAD tool from there. So that's just one, that's probably the most obvious that users find. But it's been great working with them around this OrCAD plugin and allowing OrCAD users to get to DigiKey more quickly. And there's a lot of opportunity. Time will tell.
Yeah, with more users, right, we get more feedback. And I've seen requests from users for like a BOM level dashboard, where right inside the tool, they have a real time dashboard of part status, lead time, for their design, which I think would be nice. Another thing you had mentioned is sort of this predictive analytics, where, for when a user logs in, figuring out which are the most commonly downloaded parts or used parts, making it available with current status information, or recommending alternate parts from manufacturers. And so there's a lot, like Cody said, the more users we get, more feedback, and we keep adding it to the roadmap. So I'm sure we'll continue developing it with more customers, and as the collaboration goes even deeper.
Mike, what do you think would make for a good addition here based on your knowledge of the industry?
Well, if I'm looking at this from EMA's perspective, I would say have anybody who's coming to DigiKey to order a part have an opportunity to download UltraBOM as well.
Yeah, I mean, we are running a promotion, right? I mean, UltraBOM is available on the store like for $500, but if you use a code DK-UL-25, it's available for free. Now is a good time to get it.
Wait, is that through DigiKey?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a promotion we are running in collaboration with DigiKey. So when you come to EMA store to purchase it, you'll see it's listed for $500, but for a limited time, we are offering it for free. And the code starts with a DK, so it's a DigiKey promotion. It's DK-UL-25. It's on the website, so you won't miss it on the store page.
Got it. All right. Well, Gopu and Cody, I want to thank you both for coming on PCB Chat and sharing the information, just not just about the integration, but also kind of what the other things that you're seeing out there in the industry today. And I hope you both come back soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for the opportunity. Have a good day.
For PCB Chat, this is Mike Buetow. Have a nice day.